Oh. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sakana Bhavatu Sakanau Bhunaktu Sagaviriyam Karavavakai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In our last talk, Lord Krishna was outlining that when a person endures the hardships of life and maintains a balanced frame of mind, then that person makes himself competent to attain to the immortal state. Amritatvaya kalpate. So the mortal man earns the right to become the immortal divine when he undergoes or undertakes the living of life without going through the vicissitudes and maintaining a balanced frame at all times. With respect to this immortal state, as to what it is going to be outlined in the next verse, the verse number 16. This is said to be the most philosophical verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita. So it states, Nasato vidyate bhavo, na abhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drishtontas stvanayos tattva darshibhihi. Na asato vidyate bhavo, na asat. The unreal never has ever come into existence. Na asato vidyate bhavo. Na abhavo vidyate sataha. And that which is said to be the real, it never becomes non-existent. That is to say, the unreal, at no time ever did it come into existence. The unreal is unreal. While the reality has never ceased to exist. Na abhavo vidyate sataha. Sataha is the reality. Now, what is that which is real? And what is that which is considered to be unreal? The real is that which exists in all the three periods of time. It was the reality, was in the past, is now in the present, and will also shall be in the future. There was never a time when it ever ceased to be. It has always existed, the reality. While the unreal is that which has never come into existence. If something were not to exist in the beginning, and if it seems to exist in the middle, in the present, and later on, if it ceases to be, that even though if it seems to exist in the middle, it doesn't exist. It is only an appearance. It has only appeared to exist. So it was not there in the beginning, in the past, the unreal. It shall not be in the future, but in the present, if it seems to appear to exist, it means that it never existed even at the present, in the present itself. In all the three periods of time, it doesn't exist. So the unreal is that which has never existed either in the past, present, or the future. But the real is that which has always been. It was, it is now, and it shall be. Now, with respect to these two, ubayorapi, drishtoha, antaha, anayoga, with respect to these two, the truth pertaining to these two, the final end, ubayoha, anayoga. So, the truth about both of them, the final end has been perceived by tattva-darshibihi, by the knowers of truth. The knowers of truth have experienced the real to be always real, and that which is unreal has always been unreal. It never ever came into existence. Now, what is that which is considered to be real? That which is the reality is a divinity in existence. Is a divinity in existence. God has always been. There was never a time when it ceased, when it never existed. And the unreal, which is the universe, even though it may appear to exist, really speaking, even in its appearance, it does not really exist. So the reality is that which is always true. The unreal is never existent or never true. So that is why it's popularly said, God alone is. God alone exists. Then what about the universe? Universe came into existence. Before creation, the universe was not. After the world's end, the universe ceases to be. So in between, if it appears to exist, it really does not exist in the middle too. This is as far as the objective world is concerned. Then subjectively speaking, you as an individual, you too as an individual, when the world was created, you also came into existence as an individual person. The jiva, the jiva, the jivatma, the individuality of yours, which is currently you are experiencing as your existence. So at some point it was created and currently you are experiencing it. And subsequently, when you get enlightened to your true reality, your individuality also ceases to be. So therefore, in between, at the present moment, if you are experiencing your seeming individuality, this individuality of yours is only something which is apparent. So you are now apparently here for some time, apparently experiencing your individuality along with the universe, which apparently is being experienced by you. So both the universe and you, the individual, who is experiencing the universe along with your individuality, only transpired at the time of creation, and then both will collapse and disappear at the time of enlightenment. When you attain enlightenment, both cease to be. So this profound spiritual truth is being outlined here in the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, he says, and this state of affairs has been experienced by the truth regarding this has been experienced and known by the Tattva-darshibhihi, by the wise, who have experienced the real as real and the unreal as unreal. Then, even if something, as we said, seems to exist in the middle, then it really does not exist in the middle too. It is only the reality which is now appearing to you as the seeming universe, along with your seeming individuality. Now, with reference to this, the next verse is going to bring out this truth and is going to elaborate on it. The verse number 17 brings out the metaphysics of Advaita Vedanta. The entire structure of Advaita Vedanta is going to be brought out in the next verse. So there it says, so Krishna says, Lord Krishna, Avinashi tu tad viddhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. May you understand that Avinashi tu tad viddhi. May you understand that yena sarvamitam tatam, by which sarvamitam tatam, by which this entire universe is being pervaded. That by which, yena, by which this entire universe is being pervaded, is said to be avinashi, is said to be indestructible. It is said to never cease to be avinashi. You cannot cause the end. There is no end to it. No vinasha, avinashi. It has no end, no destruction. It doesn't cease to be. What does not cease to be? That by which this entire universe is pervaded and permeated. So this objective universe which you are experiencing at the moment is pervaded and permeated by the divine, by God, by God's being, God's existence, or God's beingness is pervading this entire universe. So wherever the universe is, there indeed God's beingness is there. That is said to be the warp and woof of the universe, just as much as when you see a beautiful cloth with a lot of designs and colors, what immediately catches your attention is the fabric with hues and colors and forms, the beautiful fabric. But it is the threads of the fabric which inheres through and through in the entire fabric. And without the threads, that fabric, the beautiful fabric, would not be. So that is the warp and woof, the very structure of the fabric. So if it was a cotton fabric, the threads, the cotton threads, is the warp and woof of the entire colorful fabric. So also, as far as this entire physical universe, this beautiful cosmos, which has captured your imagination with various hues and colors and various forms, beginning from the sky downwards to planet Earth and to all trees and mountains and the oceans, wherever the universe is, that's the very structure of this universe is structured due to the presence of the divine pervading and permeating the entire universe. That is the warp and woof of the universe. So that divine principle, which is the very structure of the universe, is said to be indestructible. It has always been, it has always existed. That is why in order to experience the divine gets experienced at two places. The entire universe in front of you, when you get enlightened and have the divine or God experience. So wherever the universe is, there indeed you will experience the divine. That is objectively speaking. And subjectively speaking, at the same time, you would also experience yourself within yourself as the divine. And when you do so, at the same time, simultaneously, you will perceive the divinity you will perceive yourself as the divine everywhere. Wherever the mountain is, where the ocean is, where the sky is, where all the beings are. The planets, the animals, the angels, the gods, the ocean waters, the rivers, the mountains, in all of them, you'll be perceiving your divine nature or divine state of beingness. So that is said to be the warp and woof of this entire universe. But there is something very remarkable about it. Now, I am going to give you a definition for God. And one of the definitions, there are many definitions. And one of the definitions is, because you're going to define God or explain God with reference to what you perceive and what you know. So this is what you see versus what you perceive. So with reference to this, you're going to define what God is. So it says, Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam Brahma. So Brahman is the word which has been used in the Hindu metaphysical language. In the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, the word Brahman has been used to signify the divine. And that particular word has got a profound significance. So it says it is that divine, that Brahman, which is said to be the Abhinna. Abhinna is Abhinna nimitta upadana vivarta karanam. That's a definition. Abhinna nimitta vivarta upadana karanam Brahman. So that means Brahman is that Abhinna. Abhinna means it is non-different. Why is it non-different? Wherever the universe is, there indeed Brahman is. Therefore, it is Abhinna. Abhinna, non-different. Huh? So wherever you see, just like wherever you see the tree, there indeed in the tree, you will find the structure of the tree, the very cells and everything. That's the very nature. So here also, Abhinna, it is intrinsically present. Abhinna, nimitta. So Abhinna, where the sky is, the divine is. Where the earth is, the divine is. Abhinna, non-different. It has no separate location. Huh? That the sky is different and God's existence is somewhere else. No, it's not so. It is there itself. Where the sky is, where the earth is, where the rivers are, the mountains are, where the clouds are, and where every person is. In all persons, in all beings, in all animals, in all angels, in all gods and demigods, in all of them. The divine is intrinsically and uniformly present as non-different. Non-different. It has no separate location. It is there. So Abhinna nimitta. Nimitta is, the God is said to be the instrumental cause. If you want to create something, you need an intelligence. So if you want to create a pot, you need an intelligent person called the potter. The pot cannot assemble by itself. The clay cannot assemble by itself and say, let me become the pot. So there has to be a potter who fashions the clay to bring about a beautiful vase. So that is said to be the intelligent cause for this entire universe. Remember one thing, this universe is not a chaos. It is a beautiful cosmos, remarkable cosmos. Everything is so beautifully worked out in this universe, including your salvation too, has been beautifully framed out. And it is that process of salvation we are going to look into in the Bhagavad Gita. So everything is beautifully outlined. And So therefore, there is an intelligence. So this is not this universe which you are experiencing is not a blind product of the atoms and molecules. Some people would like to say that, after all, why do we need an intelligence called a creator to manifest this remarkable universe? Why is it that this universe which you are experiencing in front of you is the product, an accidental freak? It's an accidental phenomenon, it's a freak. The atoms and the molecules were combining and recombining, that one fine day, by sheer chance or accident, these atoms and molecules so combine themselves by mere chance to become this remarkable cosmos. Some people would like to claim that. It is like saying that you give a pen to a monkey and ask the monkey to keep on scribbling, and one fine day, this monkey of yours, which has got intelligence, would be writing the plays of Shakespeare or Kalidas, or the poet Kalidas. It is not impossible, it is highly improbable, such a contingency taking place. So therefore, seeing this universe, you need an intelligence who has brought about this universe. So this is a proof for the presence of this intelligence called God, who is the operative principle. So that is why we use the word in defining God, that he is the non-different nimitta karana. Nimitta is the intelligent cause, the intelligent agency who has worked out this universe. Abhinna nimitta vivarta upadana karana. Now vivarta upadana karana. What is the material that he is using? Of course, there is a material with which when you have when a potter wants to manufacture and produce a clay, a vase, he has a material called the clay. So here too also, what is the material which God had in order to fashion this remarkable universe? And that material which God, he has a material. Now remember one thing. Our premise is, and not only is it a premise, but it is an experienced reality by the wise that God alone exists. If that be the case, how did he bring about this remarkable universe? And this is where the glorious ancient mystical wisdom of India comes into play, into the picture. How it has so beautifully brought out and explained this phenomenon. So therefore, the material which has been used by God to bring about this universe is called as Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti. Shakti means energy, which is called Maya. So Maya means deluding, an energy which deludes you. That's why the word Maya. So when you see a magical show, you are being deluded by a magical show. It is not there. But nevertheless, the magician, with his magical power, is able to induce a show for you, and you are so excited over that show, out of that magical power here, and you're enthralled by the magician's show, but he has brought it out with his magical power. So similarly also, this magical power with which God has brought out this elaborate, remarkable universe is said to be Maya Shakti. It's an energy. Now you may ask another question. how does energy become matter? Simple. E is equal to mc squared. The energy released is equal to mass multiplied by c, the speed of light, squared. mc squared is equal. So the mc, the mass, the tiny little mass, along with multiplied with c, the speed of light squared, brings about this energy called E. So how energy becomes matter? E, the energy becomes matter. So this is so, and they are interconvertible. Energy can become matter and matter can become energy. So here also, that is exactly what has happened. The good Lord has, out of this Maya Shakti, brought about this remarkable via. So Maya Shakti is the energy, the power of creation. That's the power of creation. The Shakti, the power. With this power of creation, he has manifested and brought out this remarkable universe. Now the next question is, where is the locus for this power? The locus for this power is just as much as where is the locus, or where does the magician's magical power reside? The magician's magical power resides in the magician. It has no separate existence from the magician. The magical power which the magician has no independent existence. At the same time, it resides, it has its locus in the magician. But it is at the same time not part of the magician's existence. At will, the magician with his magical power can bring about a remarkable show, and he can terminate it as will. So also, Maya, with the power of Maya, this panoramic universe, the show of this universe has been brought about, and it can be terminated too. And the locus of this magical power called Maya, just as much as it is in the magician's magical power resides in the magician, so also this Maya, the power of Maya, resides in Ishvara, the creator. So that is where it has its locus. So at will he can use it, and at will he need not. He just takes it back. So that's where it abides. But at the same time, it is not part of his existence. And at the same time, it is not separate from his existence, because the premise is God alone is. Apart from God, there isn't anything else which is. So thus, the magician's magical power has its locus in the magician, so too also the divine's power called Maya Shakti abides and exists in the divine, in God, in Ishvara, and it is non-separative from him. That is why it is called Abhinna. Abhinna means it has no separate existence, but it resides in him, this power. So Abhinna Nimitta Upadana. So Upadana means the material cause. So this is the material out of which he brings about. The Maya Shakti is the material out of which he brings about this panoramic universe, the show of this panoramic universe. Then at the same time, it is not that God has become the divine. God has become the universe. God only appears to be, even though it is the warp and woof of the universe, it only appears to exist as the universe. Keep that in mind. How so? It is just like God has not become the universe, but God's existence appears as the universe. If God has become the universe, just like, so this is called, there are two forms of cause and effect relationship. One cause is wherein the cause itself becomes the effect, just like the milk becoming the yogurt or curds. That is, yogurt means curds, the milk becoming yogurt or the curds. So in this instance, the milk has lost its character as the milk and has become the yogurt or curds. On the other hand, there's another type of cause and effect relationship which exists. And that is the example of the rope snake example. The rope snake example. That's a very classic example. The rope, there was a rope lying on the ground, and in twilight, it appears to be the snake. It appears only. It's only an appearance. But when you go close to that in twilight, to the rope, in the twilight, which has got a little light, it's a little vague, the light is vague, you immediately stop. You immediately stop, thinking that to be a snake. So therein, what has happened is, the rope appears to be a snake. It has not become the snake. It has not become the snake. So this is one type of cause and effect relationship which exists there. Now, in the same way too, I could elaborate on this a little more, that while you are walking in the forest, you perceived a snake lying on the ground. Immediately, you stopped. You had fear. You didn't want to proceed any further. It was a pretty big one too. And then behind came an elderly man with a white beard. And you told him, stop there. Don't come here. There is a snake lying on the ground. So that man smilingly said, no, it's not a snake. Take a good look at it. Take a good look at it. That's all he said. Step one step closer and take a good look at it. Don't you worry. I have a stick with me. Being an elderly man, he has a stick, a good walking stick, a staff. Don't worry, I've got a staff in my hand. If anything happens, I can, but it's not a snake. So being encouraged by his words, you took a good look at it, And then you took one more step closer towards it, a few steps closer. And lo and behold, you found the snake transforming itself back into its original character called the rope. So previously, the rope became a snake. And now when you take a good look at it, it reverts back to its original character called the rope. Similarly also, in the same way, nothing. So now this old man who was there, can you call him as a rope guru? He has given you an instruction and told you the truth about it. And now he is the rope guru who has indicated to you what the rope is. But at the same time, you had to take the good look. You had to take a good look at it. So similarly also, in the same manner too, as far as this remarkable universe is concerned, you have to take a new look at it. Take a new look at the whole thing. So this new vision is called the God vision. Previously, you had the world vision of multiplicity, the world vision of multiplicity. Now that world vision of multiplicity is being replaced by the God vision. And with a God vision, when you intensely look at the whole thing over a period of time, you will find that the universe being transformed back into its original character and nature, which is the divine or divinity in existence. So it is the divine which has now appeared to you as the universe. And at the same time, it is said to be the support of this entire universe. That is why the definition for Brahman is Brihatvat, Bringanatvat, Brahmaniti. That is the nature of Brahman. What is Brahman? Bringanatvat. That means it is the support or the structure of the entire universe. Because of its nature of being, so it supports the beingness of the universe. So Bringanatvat and Brihatvat. And you know the universe is vast. It's an infinite, expanding universe. So Brihatvat means that which is vast, without limits, which is everywhere. So that is the nature of Brahman, the divine. The divine has no limits. There's no limits. So this is the character and the nature of Brahman. And this is exactly what he is outlining in the first line of this verse. Avinashitu tat viddhi yena sarvamitam tatam. It is by the divine principle. It is that divine principle which is pervading and permeating this entire universe, this entire physical universe that you're experiencing. And then, in that rope snake example, what was the problem there? The problem was it not a mistaken perception? When you perceive the rope as a snake, it is said to be a misperception, wasn't it? A misperception. A misperception is a wrong perception. And wrong perception is due to what? Ignorance. Ignorance. So what did this ignorance do to that rope there? It veiled the rope and projected a snake. Similarly also, the reality of this universe, which is the divine, was covered, and instead a universe was projected. And this is all done by the power called Maya. So it is our ignorance, due to ignorance. So the covering part of ignorance is said to be, from the covering point of view, it is said to be ignorance, avidya. And from the dazzling point of view, the projecting point of view, it is called Maya, that which fascinates, enthralls you with a beautiful perception of this universe. So avidya means ignorance. Because of this ignorance, you have mistaken objectively the physical universe, the divine as the physical universe, you have mistaken it. At the same time too, you have mistaken the divine which is there present within you as your individuality, as your own individuality. You have mistaken it. And this mistaken experience and perception is due to ignorance. Now, where is the locus of this ignorance? Tell me. The locus, where does this ignorance abide? Who is having the perception of the universe? Who is having the experience of your individual nature? It is you. So the locus of this ignorance is in you. Is in you. And therefore it is this avidya or ignorance. And therefore, what is the corrective measure? The corrective measure is said to be, you need the God vision. And this God vision is said to be vidya, the counter opposite. The counter opposite. Due to ignorance, your mistake, you have got a wrong perception. And the wrong perception has to be corrected by the right impression, by the corrective impression, which is called the God vision. So when you sustain and maintain this God vision, then what happens is the world disappears just as much as the perception of the snake disappeared. And then where the snake was, the rope got manifest. So also in the same way, when you maintain this God vision, then the universe vision disappears. That is objectively speaking. Subjectively speaking, when you maintain your God nature, the vision, the awareness of your God nature, then at the same time, in due course, the awareness of your individuality disappears, and instead, the reality of your own being as the divine manifests to you. So both within and without, you'd experience your divine nature. And this is all basically due to ignorance, avidya. So the locus of avidya or ignorance is there within you, and the corrective measure is said to be vidya or knowledge. And what is that which is giving you this knowledge? The scriptural text via the teacher is imparting this knowledge to you, is imparting this knowledge. But there is a problem. Even though you are told that what is there is only the divine, you don't experience it immediately. It takes time. It takes time because you are saturated with worldly impressions, with worldly passions. Huh? So where does now you're operating your life with all the worldly impressions and worldly passions, worldly desires. And where does it abide? It abides in you. You are the locus of that. Your passions, your desires, your energy. So there is an energy there within you. Huh? You may call it the operational energy. There is an operational energy operating within yourself, which is said to be your passions. Huh? The passions in you. So long as these passions in you are there, you are going to perceive this universe as the universe. So therefore, What is what is the restoring energy? The corrective energy? Very simple. The restoring energy is also within you. The passions within you will keep it going. And the restoring energy is the dispassion. When your passions have cooled down, or when all your passions and desires have cooled down, and when you also lose your own sense of arrogant individuality, because your sense of arrogant individuality was a bundle of energy. This I energy, the ego energy. So this ego energy of yours, with all its passions and desires, have to subside, have to cool down. So therefore, you have got to work it out. You have got to cool down. Huh? So therefore, the restoring energy is in you. So you can keep the universe going, or you can dismantle it. You can. So therefore, who has to work out this solution? It is you. It is you who has to work this out by understanding the due process. You must understand the due process. So spiritual life is a beautiful science. It's a science. It's a spiritual science. Of course, in the world, it has not been intelligently and rationally brought out. The science of life, the science of salvation. It's a science of salvation. That's why I use the word due process. If you understand the due process, you can work out your own enlightenment. And that's what Buddha said, Lord Buddha said. Lord Buddha was very clear and emphatic on this, that you yourself can work out your own salvation. You attain the state of nirvana or nibbana, provided you understand the due process. Of course, in the process, God's grace will be always there. God's grace will always be there assisting you. But nevertheless, the due process has to be worked out by you. Then, after you get enlightened, and come to realize, after all, the universe never really existed. Neither did I as an individual did exist. Huh? And only God alone exists. So when you come to that final experience, then you will come to understand, arrive at a brilliant conclusion, a remarkable conclusion. Once a person has got enlightened, nothing ever really happened. Nothing ever really happened. Nothing happened. The universe was never there. The world is... So that is why in Yoga Vasishta, the sage Vasishta tells Lord Rama, "Oh, Are Ram, Duniya to din kal mein bhi hai nahi." That means saying the universe does not exist, has never existed even in the 3 periods of time. Teen kal mein bhi. It never transpired, never existed. So this is that experience that one will have at the final end. Huh? Nothing ever really happened. If that is so, then all is well. all is well. Then what about this? What about this universe? But what happened then? Nothing ever really happened. Nothing really happened. Huh? You may call it was a comedy of errors. You laugh it off. You just laugh it off. It was a comedy of errors. The Guru had got enlightened earlier, and then subsequently the disciple too got enlightened, and they looked at each other and they had a hearty laugh. They had a hearty laugh. Because they both came to know nothing really happened. Nothing ever really happened. Then the disciple asked the Guru, later on he is asking him, how is it that I went through this process? And the Guru is telling the disciple, it is not your question. So the disciple is saying, when I was all along the divine, how did I go through this process of being an individual, going through this whole experience and coming out of it and getting enlightened? How did I go? How did all this happen? And the Guru is asking, when your Guru is replying now, when you are the divine, how did you? It's not your question, it is my question. How did you get into this? How did you get into this? Because the disciple is asking, how did I get into this? The Guru is asking, it is not your question, it is I who should ask you how you got into it. There's nothing to get into. But there is an answer to this. It's a divine comedy. It's a divine comedy. The entire creation is a divine comedy. It is called Leela Kaivalya Nyaya. So it's a divine sport. It's a divine sport. Leela Kaivalya Nyaya. It's a divine sport. Perhaps God didn't have anything to do. Perhaps. So therefore he played a game. You know what the game is? Hide and seek. Hide and seek. Hide and seek is the game. You know, when you are children, you play the game of hide and seek, isn't it? Everyone plays that. Even I have played the game hide and seek. In a dark room, you enter a dark room, and then you ask the other person to catch you in the dark room. Hide and seek. And here the remarkable thing is God has hidden himself inside you. And you are looking and searching for him everywhere. Often in frustration. Often in frustration. So hide and seek. And once you have got him, the matter is over. So therefore, the thing is this. You don't stumble into an ignorance knowingly, do you? No, knowingly, you don't stumble into it. So all of a sudden, you found yourself here. Unwittingly, you stumbled into this world. Hide and seek. So what God did was, he just covered himself and entered into you. So knowingly, you don't stumble into into a situation. It's only unknowingly. That's why ignorance. Unknowingly, you stumbled into this. So you got covered. Your reality got covered. And now you are searching for it. So that is why, in the final conclusion, the most remarkable explanation to all this is, the final result, final answer is, the theory of non-creation, Ajatavada. And the Mandukya Upanishad Karika. There is a text on this in the Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad Karika. And a section called Alada Shanti Prakarana. A section dealing with quenching the firebrand. That's a section. And in that section, it is said that Ajatavada, the theory of non-creation, is beautifully explained. So, really speaking, there never was a creation. So that's called the theory of non-creation. Everyone is speaking of the theory of creation. Here the text is coming and telling you, introducing you into a concept called the theory of non-creation. There was never a creation which ever took place. And that's the final conclusion in the whole matter. So therefore, may you understand, Arjuna, Avinashitu tat viddhi ena sarvamitam tatam. May you understand that divine principle has pervaded and permeated this entire universe, and it is said to be indestructible. Vinasham avyayasya asya na kaschit kartum arhati. Asya vinashasya avyayasya. So no one can cause the vinasha, the destruction of the avyaya, of the imperishable. Na kaschit kartum arhati. No one can bring about its end indeed. Therefore, the Atman of each person, the Atman with a capital A, not the Jivatma, but you as the divine principle, you are immortal, and no one can cause the end or the destruction of this divine principle. So in order to bring out this truth, Lord Krishna, in the previous two verses, he has outlined a remarkable metaphysics concerning the mystery of existence. And then the balance we'll see tomorrow.